Professor, can I ask you about the research component? Because, you know, we're not just writing, there's stuff that goes on before the writing. Tell us about that process for you, and especially in putting this book together.
Okay, the research for Mak Yong actually, in a way, was accidental. It was not my field. I was an English literature graduate, and somehow I was persuaded to start a department of theatre in USM. And then I had to pick a topic, and by chance, I had only seen one Mak Yong performance before that. And then I just got interested in that, and I said I will do Mak Yong, without knowing what it was and what was going to happen, and so on and so forth. And the next thing I did was I had to spend 1 year in Kelantan, and this was in the 1970s.
1 whole year in Kelantan. That's an extraordinary commitment, isn't it, to research?
Yeah. Of course, that was for my PhD thesis, which was on Mak Yong, and the first PhD thesis in the world on Malay culture, at that point. And somehow, it went on and on. So it was, it was an interesting and very challenging process. I mean, just getting from Penang to KL to Kota Baru and the villages there and staying there for a year in the 70s, was quite incredible.
Right. So there's, if you can tell us a little more. I mean, many of our traditions draw on ancient stories, the Ramayana, for instance, or if you're Buddhist origin, it might be the Jataka stories. What does Mak Yong?
Well, this is interesting, very important question, because none of the Mak Yong stories belong to any of these traditions that you just mentioned. Well, I mean, overall, at one time, we did not know where the stories came from. They're not connected with Ramayana for sure. They're not connected with some of the other major epics and so on and so forth. Then I discovered that there is a small number of the 12 so-called authentic stories are actually Buddhist.
The Buddhist in origin?
Actually, a small number, 3 to 4. We're still looking at that, and the Anak Raja Gondang, the Prince of the Golden Shell, it's a very well-known Buddhist Pinasa Jataka. It's not a major Jataka, but a minor Jataka story. You see? So this connects us not just to Kelantan, but to Patani, to Thailand, to Cambodia, to the whole region. And more I look at Malay theatre, more and more I look at Mak Yong, I see those kinds of connections. And I always keep saying, don't look at boundaries. The boundaries are artificial. They're there now. They won't be there in future. They never were there in the past, you see. And these kind of movements of heritage and culture. And the fact is that it goes back, I don't know how long, definitely pre-Islamic, which is even more exciting. Why, pre-Islamic form, with pre-Islamic content, which is very controversial nowadays. How did he manage to survive so long?
Let's move to your work, Ghulam, Mak Yong World Heritage Theatre. Again, this is a culmination of decades of work. What is it saying to us? What can it tell us? And what do you try to achieve? Is it purely descriptive, or are you saying something about the society from which Mak Yong emerges?
Well, it's both, and it's more than both either. The thing is that the society is very limited. If you look at Mak Yong and its origins and where it started from and so on and so forth, it's a very, very small community which was involved in it, you see. But the importance of that genre itself is what we need to highlight. I mean, it's not a Malaysian genre. It's not found all over. It's found in Kelantan, and very small part of Kelantan at that point, you see. Even now, of course, it's expanded a bit, but it's very limited. And then the fact that it is survived for probably 600 years, 700 years or more, shows something about the genre itself.